Welcome to the PHNX Sun Devils postgame show brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download today using that promo code PHNX when you sign up. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and if they do, you get $200 in free bets. I'm joined as always by Brittany Boyer with a beautiful setup today. Look at that field, huh?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have to tell you, Shane, first and foremost, super proud of the Sun Devil fan base. They came out in full force for this game. I was not expecting it. We talked about it earlier this week. Sellout, probably was going to be a lot of USC fans, a lot of empty seats that went to StubHub. No, man, this place was packed, 100%. So, yeah, it was definitely crazy in here. It was wild trying to find a place to get set up, but hey, here we are, and I'm ready to talk about the win.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did see a tweet from one of my friends that the student section during that one point when it was still a 1-point game was departed pretty had departed pretty early. So the students aren't showing out as much, but I understand it's a Saturday night, and that first half was really.
Oh, sorry, Sparky's trying to pass me.
Hey,
Hi,
Sparky!
Thank you for making an appearance. Go Devils, right? High fives. I only have one hand, but yeah, go Devils.
Love it.
So that's random. We've never had an appearance from Sparky before, so that was nice. Like
that's good. First time for everything.
Students did start clearing out early, but everyone else stayed really until the final 2 minutes. Rashad White had the third touchdown of the night, or his third touchdown of the night, and that was when people really started to clear out a little bit more after that. I mean, at that point, I felt ASU had pretty much put it away. There was like a minute 17 left when I think I looked up after they kicked the extra point. And they were really getting going on that next drive. So, I mean, I understand people leaving at that point, but yeah, I feel like this game was just I almost feel like this team had amnesia and they didn't know who they were for like last month. And then they were like, oh, wait a second.
Well, yeah, that first half was really ugly. Devils came through. Scoreline looks a little different. What's up?
I was going to say pause because Leah Morrell, our producer's comments on there, and U of A. Yeah, U of A won their first game. What a terrible win in terms of how they got it done, but they got it done. I know ASU's win wasn't pretty. There were some issues with it, but I'll still take this win over theirs against Cal.
Yeah, well, ASU takes this one at home, 31-16, carried heavily by Rashad White's 202 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns on 28 carries. I mean, the run blocking, PHNX Sun Devils account tweeted it earlier. I don't know if you guys saw it, but the run blocking, Rashad White, and penalties really bailed this team out in the third quarter when it was looking grim. And yeah, it just there are still some things that I'm very upset about, and it doesn't give me a lot of confidence moving forward. Somehow this team is still alive in the Pac-12 South. They still have a shot. Utah has some games coming up that it are going to mean a lot to the Sun Devils team, but if they come out flat like they did the rest of the season, I mean, against Oregon State, against Washington, it's not going to come out the same way.
Yeah, well, first, I want to touch on some sights and sounds from the game because last week we 100% talked about the fact that, they really, the vibe in here was just so weird. And on the sidelines, the guys really didn't look super engaged. They were distracted. It was not that way this week. They were buckled in. The coaches were on their ass. They were riding them to do what they needed to get done. I just felt like it was an entirely different team, an entirely different vibe from the coaching staff that they were giving off. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's because things got started off much better and, almost like the shoe was on their other foot for USC and they were in the same position ASU was in last week with that early turnover. But, it just was a whole different vibe.
Go for it.
Sorry. Go ahead. I was going to say, I feel like a lot of that vibe was something that we talked about almost being like they had a hangover after Utah, and then they went into the bye. They played that early game. They got stunned. I definitely feel like this game they were awake. And so they still had some of those errors. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Shane, I couldn't really see very easily from where I was sitting a lot of times because I'm down trying to balance my camera. If a lot of those penalties were legit or if there's some of the penalties where you're like, oh, effing Pac-12 refs again, like here we go.
No, the big holding calls, the face mask by I believe Jack Jones on that 3rd and 10. Those were all legit. There wasn't a lot of bad calls tonight. There was a lot of questionable. I mean, it's just the mistakes, and that's the point I'm trying to make. Is this win feels not? It doesn't feel like a win to me because this USC team is so down on their luck with Drake London being injured, the dual quarterback thing going in and out of Keaton Slovis.
Kind of. But they also had, I want to say, the number 13 passing offense coming into this game. So, I know Drake London was not playing, but if you really look at the secondary and how well they did in terms of shutting them down, Chase Lucas was absolutely outstanding tonight. He had, I know for a fact he had 2 huge pass breakups in the first half alone. He had a really big pass breakup in the second half. He had a holding call, I believe, or some sort of call somewhere in the third quarter. It was right around the same time that they had just had another offside penalty, and it was literally just a neutral zone infraction. And those are stupid things that you can avoid. And that was when I started thinking, like, okay, here is where we start to see the when they start to get tired, they start to play sloppier, and we're starting to see it come to fruition. And that's my thing. I almost feel like they don't know how to play the full duration and full 4 quarters of football. They're still struggling to get that rolling at this point, and that shouldn't be an issue considering we're in week 9, week 8, week 9. We have 3 weeks left.
Yeah, there really hasn't been a complete game. Bailey just touched on it. The moment of the game, the highlight of the game, we have it here for you. If you missed it somehow at the start of the broadcast, it speaks for itself.
Cat or I think it's like a fox.
That is not a cat.
That is not a
cat. Fox. It is a fox.
I think Stormy's got a pretty good view.
Yeah.
Do it. Oh my gosh, the high fox. He's going in the stands now.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
this
boy,
fox
that's
is a
not
wild
good.
Child.
Stay away from the fox.
I thought that was so funny.
I did not know that it ran into the stands. And so I was in the end zone that's behind me, where if you go to this side, it's got the big jumbotron, and the fox was on the opposite side of the Inferno. And so I couldn't get a great video. But also, I was like, what the fuck kind of animal is that? Because I don't even know. I've never seen a fox in my life until right now.
So the lore, a couple of people that work for ASU were tweeting about it. There's actually a family of foxes that lives at the stadium. Sometimes they see them early in the mornings, but they've seen it on practice come onto the field, but they've never seen it in a game. Poor little guy got lost, and I'm glad nobody was hurt, or he wasn't, or she wasn't hurt when she got up into the stadiums. Or into the stadium seats.
that was really odd. I've never seen that. I'm actually a little bit surprised I was at a game where that happened. I'm pretty sure though I was at the Giants game though with that black cat too.
Oh, that's one of my favorite moments. Yeah, you heard
just
like the Giants game when the fox got into the end zone, people cheered. So I'm glad that wasn't one of the only touchdowns Devils fans were able to see tonight. Let's talk about just how much Rachaad White, I don't want to say it. I'm going to say it. Rachaad White is bailing Jaden Daniels out. Jaden Daniels is not right now. And I just want to know what's going on.
Okay, and so Shane, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I could see, at least being in the stadium versus what you could see on TV, he looked like he kind of got off to a good start. He was aggressive. He didn't really look like he was too off. Then he had the interception. And then after that first interception, it was just a lot of sloppier throws, not as good as good of decisions that he was making on the field in terms of his plays. And I feel like I don't know if it comes down to confidence, but this Jaden Daniels that we're seeing this entire season, really, in my opinion, is not the Jaden Daniels that we expected to see. Because, his freshman year, he was outstanding. His sophomore year, he was outstanding. And now he's kind of hitting a rough patch. And I almost want to pose this question. When I talked to Sanya Tomasevich, the volleyball coach, one of the things she was telling me about was trusting the process of improving something. And she talked to me a lot about how it got so much uglier through the process, but at the end of 3 months, she'd improved a lot. So I don't know, maybe there's something he's working on behind the scenes that we don't know about. He's going through his own process of getting it down, and it's ugly right now. I have no idea. It's something to touch on, something that's been mentioned a lot, but you are right. He doesn't look like he's the same quarterback. Something going on with him for sure.
Look, I think in part he's struggling a little bit. It might be because of how hot he came off in his freshman year, how good he was that freshman year. The cool and calm and collectiveness he was able to consistently use as a freshman, and that success doesn't stay. And I don't think he's gotten comfortable, but I think that it hasn't allowed him to become. It hasn't allowed him to think he had to change anything. And I think defenses are figuring it out, and I think defenses are figuring Herm out as well, because the Sun Devils didn't get a third down conversion until late in the fourth quarter, or with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter on a 3rd and 5. And that is so troubling because a third down, especially a third and manageable, like a 3rd and 5, is when you call your best plays. Is when you call the plays that you know are going to work, or you run a draw to get a 3rd and even more manageable, or 4th and even more manageable, like a 4th and 2. So the fact that they can't capitalize on 3rd and manageables is very concerning, and it has to do a lot with the play calling.
It is.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that when Zach, it's almost like he gambles with his stuff, like with his decisions as a play caller. And I felt like he kind of like insinuated that after the UCLA win, like, you win some, you lose some when you take this gamble. But I turned my camera and I had it panned up like this because if you look up here, and I don't know if you guys can see it, I can't even point in the right direction because everything's backwards. But on the screen behind me, it has the comparison of the stats side by side. And I wanted to show, Jaden Daniels only ended up passing for 145 yards, completed 11 out of 20, had 2 interceptions, 2 turnovers. You look at the penalty yards, it's kind of surprising to look up there and see that USC actually had more penalty yardage than ASU did.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it at least seemed like ASU had more penalty yardage in this game than 48. Looking at the passing yards, though, I think that holding Keaton Slovis to 220 passing yards is absolutely phenomenal. Right now, I want to say they're averaging like 315 yards a game. So that's good. Only his completion percentage is not very good either right now. I mean, 24 for 45. But really, look at the rushing yards. 282 rushing yards tonight, and Rachaad White had 202 of them.
Yep.
So really, we're talking about how much he bailed out Jaden Daniels. I think that's huge. And I had to point that out because it was right there.
Sure.
I don't know if you guys could really see it on the screen,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So, Bailey brings up this point. At least ASU swept the LA teams this season. Herm beat both LA teams in his first year, and then his second year lost both games. Then obviously last year they lost both games. So it's big to get these 2 wins, even though it's a hobbled USC team. It does a lot for the confidence of this team in general. But I want to get this off my chest. I was so fed up at halftime. I went upstairs, I sat down, I stared at a wall, and I screamed in my head. I don't know if you guys ever scream in your head, but you don't want to actually scream, so you just yell in your head. Herm Edwards, what is going on up here with timeout and clock management? I can let it slide if you don't want to go for it after USC misses that 51-yard field goal when there's 20 seconds left and you're at midfield.
A lot.
I can understand
I can say
that.
on that.
But why do you take a timeout and give me hope that you might actually go for it? That stung so much worse that they called a timeout and thought about it. In my situation, what do you have to lose? I mean, yes, you can turn the ball over. They've had turnover problems. I can kind of get that. But take the shot, man. Go try to get 3. Take advantage of the gamble that USC took by kicking that 51-yard field goal and make them pay.
Yeah, I know, and especially when you saw that they had missed the field goal before that, and I want to say it was a closer one than where they were at. I have to tell you, it's really hard for me to determine yardage when I'm sitting down here because I'm seeing it literally almost at eye level. So it's hard to see the markings and like the hash marks. But, it was – I have to say, I don't know if I was as frustrated as you watching from here. I think the vibe in the stadium made it a little bit easier. Last week, I wanted to blow my brains out. So, I mean, huge improvement in terms of that. But I don't know. There definitely was things to be improved on, but maybe it was just my thought process in terms of coming into this game. I really did not expect much from Arizona State. I really didn't think they were going to show up. I thought, they already got worked. They're going to think, we're pretty much out of everything, every conversation. But I almost feel like all of the outside noise that had to do with Jordan Simone getting fired and, the reasoning behind it that really upset them was kind of the speculation of the whole staff's gone and him talking about Jaden Daniels and how poorly everybody's being coached and they don't realize it. And I think it's funny in a way because it's almost what everybody thinks, but it doesn't necessarily match what we had been seeing on the field. They're telling everybody like none of that's confirmed. Obviously, they're not going to say if it is or not, but the whole thing, it's just like I feel like it's all smoke and mirrors. So I just felt like there was a lot of bullshit. I really didn't expect very much from ASU. I kind of thought they were going to come out here and look flat, to be honest.
Yeah.
But when I saw them come out of the Tillman tunnel, they climbed all around the Tillman statue, and you could tell that they were ready for this game. I think having it be an LA game, a salute to service game on Pat Tillman's birthday. I think it just meant a lot to this program for so many reasons that the guys were able to find their own internal way to get themselves fired up and get going. And so,
for sure, yeah, a lot of what was flat tonight wasn't energy. It wasn't, swag. It wasn't the things that we had been harping on for a while. It was a lot of other stuff that came back. It was weird play calling. It was
inability to convert on third down,
ball security, third downs, and I mean the glaring thing is Jaden Daniels. I mean, the thing for me right now is if it were a confidence thing or if it were a play calling thing, you can fix that. He's missing throws that he shouldn't miss, and I wonder if that has something to do with. We see a lot more Brian Thompson. They're trying new things. I mean, Brian Thompson was targeted like 8 times this game.
Yeah, no, he was targeted a lot, and that was the same thing that we saw last week against Washington State. We were really asking, why is he getting so many targets? Why is he playing so much? Like, what is the deal? And it's like, oh, well, he was performing the best at practice. We're going to start whoever's performing the best at practice. But I don't understand because it's like Ricky Pearsall, like, I really expected him to be targeted more, to be honest. I think he stepped up in this game when he was targeted. I just would have liked to have seen more from him. Now, I also wanted to ask you because just switching gears a little bit in terms of injuries, there were 2 of them, and I don't know if you heard anything about that. Henry Haddis had gone down, and I don't know what happened to him. I saw him on the sidelines riding the bike, but, it's hard because when I'm on the sidelines, there's not necessarily someone I can go talk to and get an update with. They don't even like to give you updates at all about what's going on. So, I mean, it's not like I was going to track someone down. I didn't know if ESPN possibly knew something and pointed it out, as well as with Sully.
Yeah, Sully went down a couple times. I'm not sure what that was. Haddis walked off under his own power.
The final time Sully left the field, and I don't think he really came back into the game.
Yeah. I haven't seen any injury updates on either of them yet. I'm sure Herm has some stuff that they might be talking about right now. But
yeah, he's talking right now. I can hear him in the background.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I agree, William. He's short arming everything. You saw him bounce a couple throws. Talking about Jay Daniels, obviously didn't look serious. Rolled good. All good things. It's scary when a big man goes down on his ankles. It's also scary when you have to watch a U of A football game. And I was forced to do that because I bet the under in that game on the DraftKings Sportsbook. It was at 47 points. It was free money.
Who put that there? You have literally 2 teams with no offense. At least a defense. Both of them have at least one solid key to their defense.
25 players out on Cal, or 24, whatever it was. Just insane.
And it was still 3-3 with like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter with Cal's 4th string quarterback. Oh my God.
Yeah, so I hammered the under at the start of the game at 47, and then I got it live at 37 in the second quarter, and then I got it live again in the third quarter at like 25 or something, and then in the fourth quarter with 6 minutes to go, I live bet the under at 13 or 14 and a half, and it hit. And they made me a lot of money today on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. So if you want to live bet U of A to not score points, you can live bet their team totals. You can live bet a lot of things on that app. It's a fantastic app. It's safe. It's secure. It's reliable. It's the official betting partner of the NFL. So right now, if you sign up using that promo code PHNX, you can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game tomorrow, maybe even next week. And if they do, you get $200 in free bets if they win that game. It's super easy. It's fun, as I say. Easiest money. Yes, it is. That's 21 plus, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Britt?
So I want to touch on something Bailey just said. He said, PHNX had all winning reaction streams today. I don't know if we've ever had that. Which is actually
it's a first.
Cool because the Coyotes actually won, and they won 5-4, I believe. For them to put up 5 goals, they only put up like 1 goal the entire season earlier in the week. So huge improvement for them. Their fans have to be excited, I'm sure. Suns had a win. Devils had a win. That team down south had a win. I mean, I don't know what more you can really ask for.
Yeah,
Cardinals play tomorrow, and you just want them to get a win. That's the biggest thing.
The Suns had a great win, followed by Devin Booker's huge 38-point night. And in honor of that, PHNX has dropped a T-shirt. If you want to see what that looks like, head over to the PHNX_sports Twitter or PHNX_Suns Twitter. He's driving away toward the sunset in one of his old cars with his dog. It's so fire. So go check that
Wait,
out
did
if
you
you
say
want
with
more.
a dog?
Yeah, with his dog in his car.
I gotta buy it.
It's
Sold.
so sick. Yeah, so if you want
It
more of
already
that type
sounded
of,
sick, but the dog sold me 100%.
if you want more of that type of merch, go to the PHNX locker at phnxlocker.com or become a member at GoPHNX. You can get an annual membership and you get a free T-shirt if you sign up for an annual membership for just under $60. It's fantastic. We got a lot of good stuff going on. Britt will have a rapid reaction posted live on the website here shortly as well.
I wouldn't necessarily say shortly, probably,
Well,
but you guys
you know
wake
what
up
I
in the
mean.
morning because
Yeah.
I function like a crackhead. I just use everything at night. But yeah, it'll be up there at some point. So go over there, check it out. We have a great volleyball story up right now about what they've been able to accomplish. I know I referenced them earlier, but I just feel like it's weird because, you know, we talked a little bit about the Herm hire, the Herm fire. All of that relates to Ray Anderson. And unfortunately, as an athletic director, you're always going to be judged on your hires and fires for your two revenue generating sports, and that's football and basketball. And Bobby Hurley's been great, but Herm Edwards, the experiment is still kind of up in the air. The thing I want to touch on, though, is his Olympic sports hires have all been so good that it's really almost inspiring when you look at it. I was out at swim today, too, so we're going to have a story coming up on that. But, yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something else that maybe you're feeling a little frustrated with Sun Devil Athletics, want to read something that makes your spirits feel good, there you go.
Well, yeah, and we got basketball season coming up soon. I got high hopes for them.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm stoked too. We'll have a great
double header on Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll have a banger of a show schedule that we'll talk to you guys at the end of the show. But for now, looking forward at this schedule, obviously next week at Washington, and then at Oregon State, and then at home against U of A. Obviously,
Shane, did Washington win? Did Washington win against Oregon? My service was so crazy here. So many people. I walked in and they were up, so I wasn't sure. But, you know, I picked Washington as my dark horse of the week in terms of, like, there being an upset. Hey, also want to point out, because I totally forgot until right now, DraftKings cheese pick of the week was Arizona State. So, hey, the cheese pick's right. That's super exciting.
We love when the cheese pick's right.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure about that, but it's concerning, but kind of not concerning, because I think this Oregon team is just super banged up. I think they're a little overrated. And not to take anything away from them, I think they're still the best team that is in the conference along with Utah. But at this point, I don't think that they deserve to be ranked as high as they are ranked. So that's where I'm saying that they're overrated. But
I disagree. I think they're. I understand the conversation. Not Cincinnati though. Cincinnati, you have to play a real team. You barely got past Tulsa today, so don't even talk to me about that. Ohio State will probably be before. Alabama barely squeaked away a win today against LSU, and then Michigan State obviously fell, and they were number 3. So I would assume Oregon does sneak into that number 3 spot. But let's talk the Sun Devils and what this program or what this team is going to feel like for this next couple of weeks, because obviously last week everything felt like it was in doubt. I mean, after the bye week, they come out flat. Antonio Pierce stuff, you just really don't know what's going on. And then the first half, it kind of felt like the same way, but it gives you a little bit of encouragement. So as I said, at Washington next week, then at Oregon State, then at home against Arizona. Britt, what are you expecting from this Sun Devils team? Not just next week, but for these next 3 weeks. What do you think these next 3 weeks are going to look like?
I actually I'm speechless, to be 100% honest with you. I have no idea. I can tell you what I'm concerned about. I am definitely 100% concerned about ball security going up to Washington. I know it's projected to rain in the forecast. I know J-Pop, who actually I should just bring this up now. Our man on the street question for next week is going to be, what game are you more concerned about, Washington or Oregon State? J-Pop, who has been to pretty much every Pac-12 stadium that we have following the Devils, doesn't have the greatest road record. And he's like, well, I'm also going. So another reason to be concerned. But yeah, you know, there's just a couple reasons. I'm almost not as concerned about Washington State as I am Corvallis. Corvallis is literally the hardest place to play, and Oregon State is playing great right now. It's going to be cold, you know, and I think a lot of fans, besides just myself, because I know I reference this like once a week, have severe nightmares and flashbacks and like trauma that burns their soul from the 2014 game in Corvallis. That was just literally, I actually think I've been, that will hurt me worse than like getting dumped by like certain people, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
I think that broke my heart worse.
Bailey makes a really strong point. ASU would be in much better shape if they won one of the 3 games they lost. Oh well, yeah. Their record would be better if they won a game that they lost. Bailey, no, I'm joking. You're right. And they were all games that should have been won. I mean, frankly, they were better than all of these teams talent wise, and they just didn't come out and play. But the good news is this ASU team. Well, it's good and bad news because they're giving the Sun Devils fans hope because they don't control their own destiny, but it sure as hell feels like it because, I mean, Utah gets a free win next week as they play U of A. But then they have Oregon at home. I don't know what Oregon's going to look like in 2 weeks, but that is going to be a huge game. And obviously, if they drop that game, ASU would jump them if they continue to win because of the total win-loss overall. So they still have a chance to win the Pac-12 South. Yeah, go for it.
So actually, that game, so Oregon's defense is really not that strong. They're about mid-level. We know that they're out a running back right now. Is it a running back or a receiver? CJ Verdell. I don't know. Yeah. Running back. So, I mean, they're obviously not going to try to run the ball as much anyways. You're down your strongest man in that position. You know Utah has a strong run defense. I really see them, like, they're just going to attack the air, and I think that it's going to work out fine for Oregon in terms of that. I don't think that they're going to go there and have the same issues Arizona State did where they just, like, shit the bed in the second half. I don't. I think that they're a more experienced team, and I think even if they get down, I think Arizona State was able to expose Utah's pass defense, but –
well, Britt, I have bad news for you. They might be down CJ Verdell, but their replacement running back ran for 211 yards today.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe I'm wrong.
Well, you're not wrong. You're right about CJ Verdell not playing, but there's talent, and a lot of that has to do with a really good offensive line that Oregon always has.
Also, Washington doesn't have the greatest defense. Okay, that's not true. Their pass defense is number 1 in the FBS, but their rush defense is not the greatest. So to hear that he put up that many yards against Washington, I'm not necessarily surprised. They probably will then try to attack the run game a little bit more than I thought, but I really think that they're mostly going to try to game plan and rely around passing the ball. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're going to try and shock everybody in game plan for running the ball. Like ASU tried to shock everyone and then just ended up running into a brick wall and bouncing off and falling on their butt. So I don't know.
Well, William, they actually Utah's 5-1 in conference play. So if they did lose and ASU continued to win, they would both be 6-2 in conference play. Tied at the same point, and the overall record would go to ASU.
You want to know what else is a big matchup next week? Because we were talking about Oregon having or Utah having a free game. But Oregon next week actually plays Washington State, and Washington State is only a half a game behind them right now. And so I'm sure that after this game, because they had a bye, they'll be a little bit more behind. But I want to say I had read that game could determine who wins the Pac-12 North.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be a battle. I mean it always is. It's cannibalization. So Willie, this was the thing that I was looking at. Last week I thought that as well, but I think it goes straight to head-to-head rather than, or it goes straight to conference play rather than head-to-head. I might be wrong on that, so we'll double check and get that to you. But I'm pretty sure that they would jump them because of the overall record, and then I think it goes to head-to-head after the overall record. But I'll double check that right now.
I'm not 100% sure.
I'll double check it right now.
But yeah, overall, I think going into the next game, ball security is going to be a huge thing. They're going to really they cannot beat themselves. The penalties weren't bad, but it's still something that I feel like we have to harp on considering it's happened so many times. The game against Washington State last week, they did not beat themselves. They did because they didn't show up and play. But, defense only can play for so long before they're going to get tired out and be like, man, we're done. Like, we got nothing left in the tank because offense isn't giving them any break. So
it is straight to head-to-head, I believe. So, William, you're right. I apologize.
Yeah, so, I lost my train of thought.
No, you're good. Yeah. The landscape of this team is going to be forever changing. It always is, especially this year. You really just don't know what you're going to get night in and night out. It doesn't matter if certain players aren't playing. It doesn't matter if you're playing Washington State, a team that you should beat by 17 points. You really just don't know. And yes, Bailey, turnovers are an issue still. It's concerning when Jaden Daniels is not only underthrowing people, but throwing the ball behind people, flying balls over people's heads. And
Well, I want to
Rashad
touch
White's
on
getting the
at
ball
least,
punched out. Yeah.
at least with turnovers, I feel like it was better with fumbles this week. Interceptions, still no. I think that this is a huge sign. I mean, like we talked about last week, Jane Daniels, the most interceptions he had in his career were like 3 coming into this season, or 4 interceptions over his whole career. And then he had like 3 against BYU. He had 2 last week. I thought it was 3, but one of them they ended up ruling a fumble, I believe. He just isn't playing good, but at least the guys did a better job at holding on to the ball this week. Something I'm definitely going to be looking at practice, though, is how much they work on ball security with the running backs and the receivers. I was talking, I don't know if it was when I had you on the show or if it was when I was doing the show with Derek in terms of what we talked about, what we saw at practice, but they had the lacrosse sticks, and they were out there trying to punch the ball out as the guys were running through. And so I think that that's going to be absolutely huge when they go, because I can't tell you how, like, the 2019 game against Oregon State, Benjamin fumbled at like the 2-yard line right when ASU was about to score, and that ended up costing them the game. It was like 35-36, I want to say. It was like the final score or something. And it also came down to not kicking the field goal. There's a bunch of stupid shit. And it also had to do with Herm Edwards' decisions, and clock management came down to it too. So these are all themes of things that we hit on today that were an issue 2 years ago. And now we're going back to the same place where it's super hard to play. Everyone already has nightmares. I don't necessarily have the greatest feeling, but
Okay,
yeah,
I'm gonna go right back to this real fast. I'm gonna read this verbatim from the Pac-12 website. The winner of each division will be determined by the record in all games played, both divisional and cross-divisional within the conference. In the event of a tie, Pac-12 championship head-to-head competition between the two teams. So William was right. I just wanted to get that officially out there. So who just won it? 34-35. Yeah. So there's not a lot of hope for this ASU team. All that's in hope is that this program can get its head on straight for next year, if they aren't able to produce this year, because it hurts to watch the talent of this team slip away. And as we talked about the recruitment being in question, it's just a little worrisome.
I mean, at this point in the season, you really have to anticipate that they're probably only going to take, I would say they're probably going to look to take between 7 to 10 kids from high school, and the rest are probably going to be JUCO kids or transfer portal kids, to be 100% honest. And that's really going to that's going to be how they fill a majority of their class. The early signing period has made things really weird in terms of how things work. The transfer portal as well. The whole college football landscape has changed so much in the last couple of years, especially. So, yeah, it doesn't help with recruits. You definitely want to be able to go on the road, and if you can get those 2 big road wins leading into that final game against U of A, I mean, honestly, I think if they can win the next 3, that would just be miraculous. But I doubt it's going to happen. I mean, the fact that I'm saying it and I'm like laughing internally because I'm like, you idiot, you're just setting yourself up to be so pissed.
Yep. All right. Well, anything else before we get out of here, Britt?
Well, ASU football was able to beat the Trojans. Unfortunately, swim. So, okay, they almost won. They technically won, but they technically didn't. And it sounds weird for me to say that, but like the swimming portion, ASU beat USC. But because they judge it combined and ASU has no male divers right now, they had to forfeit the 16 points that you would get for first, second, and third place. USC got all of them. So that allowed them to have the extra, I wanted to say they won by like 3 points, 5 points to win the overall meet. At first, they had said on the loudspeaker in the PA system that it was going to come down to the relay. And I have to tell you, Grant House, who was on the show yesterday when Derek was on with me, absolutely killed it for the relay team, really put them up there, put them in there, and that was huge. So we're going to be talking about that. Like I said, we'll have a Sun Devil swim story coming up soon. We have our preview for basketball on Monday. I'm so excited to get that going. A lot to talk about there. And I think also we should talk about how it's a doubleheader Tuesday. Women go right before the men, and then we will be doing our live post-game show from Desert Financial. So a lot of stuff to look forward to.
Love it. All right. Well,
also one other thing. Sorry.
Go for it.
Be on the lookout, and it will segue right into what you're going to say. Be on the lookout for some giveaways in the next coming days. Got some exciting things planned. So be on the lookout on social media, Twitter specifically. Let your friends know. If you're watching this, retweet, share it. Make sure everyone's following. We're the best out there. I mean, subjectively, but
Follow Brittany Boyer at
Whatever.
bboyer7. Follow me at Shane D. If you can follow our PHNX Sun Devils Twitter page at PHNX_Sun Devils. You can follow PHNX_sports across all social medias, including YouTube. Leave a like on the video. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. And yeah, we'll be back on Monday for a live show. If you're into football, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. now instead of 9 because daylight savings. Don't forget, people.
wait, is that tomorrow?
Yeah.
Is that in like 3 hours? No,
Yeah.
I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. Even though we don't even change our clocks, it confuses me so much. Like a bunch of my family lives in New Jersey. I never know what time it is. I get confused, and then I can't figure it out. I don't know.
So yeah, 10 a.m. tomorrow, tailgate show right here on the PHNX_sports YouTube channel. PHNX Sports. You don't have to say underscore. I mean, you can say underscore. But yeah, follow us across everything, and we'll be back on Monday for our season preview. As Brittany said, it's been a pleasure as always, Britt, and we will see you guys on Monday. Peace.